my gosh. How are we going to get through this one?
This is going to be a good one. It may take us a couple hours.
So whose episode is this?
Mine. Aren't they all mine?
Yeah, I guess so. Contrast is a collaborative work, a podcast fully produced and hosted by the officers and residents of the Idaho Correctional Institution in Orofino.
Welcome back to Contrast. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about our PAWS program and the Honors Unit.
So what came first, PAWS or the Honor Unit?
Pause.
Pause.
We had PAWS, right?
What is pause?
So for those of you that don't know, PAWS is not only what dogs walk on, but it also stands for Paroling Animals with Skills.
What kind of skills?
Skills that make them more adaptable. Yeah, pretty amazing.
Absolutely.
Right. So I'll just kick this off then.
Yeah.
All right. You good with that?
Yeah. Go
All right.
ahead.
Don't look at me like that.
Do you have any control over that?
Eyebrows up is better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So paroling animals with skills. I'm horrible with dates, but it's been about 7 years since we started the program. We started very smally. I made up my own word today.
Nice. That's good. That's good.
It is. So we started out small, working directly with one of our local animal shelters. I believe we took in initially, it was 2 or 3 dogs. And the idea was to train these dogs to give them some basic skills to make them more adoptable so that they could go to a home where maybe prior to that training they would not have been appropriate for placement. What we didn't realize is how big that program would become and just really how impactful in the lives of the people that work here and live here it would become. And since then, it has continued to grow. We've continued to partner with additional groups of different animal shelters and emotional support dog groups. So we have continued to increase the number of handlers. We've continued to improve the program that we have. We have a very basic program as far as primary, secondary handlers. And really, it kind of was my brainchild, but I didn't do a lot of the groundwork. So the person that did that was Lieutenant Johnson. He really took that bull by the horns, as they say, and started that program. And he's no longer with us, but I still want to give him a little bit of credit.
He's with us. He's just...
He's not with us.
He's not with us.
Right.
Here at the moment.
Yeah. His legacy will always be within that basic foundation of this program. What I love about the program is what it has done for the residents and for the staff and for those relationships that we have been able to grow between everyone. Not only do our residents learn how to develop a little bit of trust, which is hard to come by in prison, but there's also those boundaries that get to professionally get broken down between staff and residents, as well as learning how to care about something else more than yourself, which I know that for the 2 of you that are in here, I know, Dave, you're not in the dog program anymore, but you were part of it. And of course, Larry, you're going to share your story as well. That was huge because you didn't come to prison because you had empathy for other people. You came to prison because you were very selfish and self-motivated. And so really there's so many benefits to the PAWS program. Shout out to our current partners, just so that I get it all right. We are currently partnering with the Lewis Clark Animal Shelter, and we have the Boise Bully Breed rescue group that we are partnering with as well. Those dogs are over at Givens Hall. We do have a partnership with with CWAC, Canines with a Cause, but we don't currently have any dogs from them, but we're looking forward to getting a couple more when we can. COVID has really kind of put a little bit of a hitch in some of the transportation and just getting those animals. And so we're hoping that we can get back on track once that kind of clears up a little bit. But as far as those partnerships go, we couldn't we couldn't do what we do. We couldn't have the resources that the guys have access to 24/7 if we didn't have the support from those partnerships. And I don't ever want to forget that. While there are headaches that come with partnerships because you all have a different mission and a different vision of what things are going to look like, there's really the end game, the end goal is the same. And that is that we see success in both our residents when they get out, even while they're currently incarcerated. There's a mission and a goal for them to have while they're here. There's something for them to do all of the time, something for them to care about, relationships to build, but also the success of the dog. And I think that the success of our residents and just the quality of life in general, especially on those housing units that we have our dogs, was an unexpected benefit that I really had no idea was going to happen, especially on Charlie 1. I know that they don't have the dogs right now, but that's our elderly, chronically ill unit. I can remember when we first brought the dogs on that housing unit. I used to go over there and we have our old timers, the ones that are going to be here for the rest of their lives. They're going to die here, and they know that. I would spend an hour listening to them complain about the TV channels that we had that they didn't appreciate. I don't get that anymore. As soon as the dogs came on the unit, you saw them smiling. They were appreciative of things. The quality of life just improved immensely. There's so many benefits to the program and so many really awesome things that I just never imagined would happen over the years that I can't even speak to all of them. So I know that the dog program was kind of the core basis of where we started with the honor unit as well. And they took a lot of the philosophical portion of our dog program. And Matt, you were really you were instrumental in getting that started. You kind of had your own vision as well. You have grasped that idea of treating people appropriately, treating people like human beings, getting them prepared for release, teaching them to how to live in a community environment and care about where they're at in the moment. And that was really kind of what I saw you take and then grow into the honor unit. So I'm going to turn it over to you to kind of talk about that.
Yeah, thanks. So that's kind of just always been in my nature to be that way. So when I first came to work in prisons, the idea of, it's kind of foreign to me to have all this stuff like, oh, you got to talk to them a certain way, can't shake their hands, things of that nature. So that was always kind of tough for me. And I had to, without any experience of prison before I came here, I had a misconception, I think, of what prison was going to be like and what my impact was going to be like on people. And when Amy pitched the idea after she'd been out of state and wanted to get something like that going, it was really kind of got me excited because I knew that it was going to be something that was right up my alley as far as just how to treat people. I just, I've always been kind of happy-go-lucky, always laughing, joking, and thought it'd be a great opportunity to start treating you guys or treating the population more like you would people in your community and not so much, as a resident with all the rules and, or that separation. How did you word it earlier? Just that.
The divide. That
divide that's always been, oh, you have a badge and I'm on this side, you're on that side. And I've never liked that. So it was really a good opportunity to start getting away from some of that. And it was tough. I mean, some of you guys have been around since the beginning of it. Dave's been around since the beginning of that honors program, and he's seen some of the issues that we've had firsthand and some of the perversions that people come in for the wrong reasons to be part of that program. And then, so there's definitely not been without hiccups, but overall, I think it's been a great success so far, and it continues to grow, continues to get better. and the dog program and the honors unit are just synonymous with each other, and it's a pretty neat thing to watch from the outside perspective. Now that I've been out of the honors program and the dog program for the last year, viewing it from an outside perspective has been kind of cool to watch.
Absolutely.
I'm really bad about having to say something, otherwise I'm going to lose my thought. So this morning, I was thinking about what I was going to be saying during this, and I think that Matt has a very similar philosophy, which is scary to think that we're on the same page. But so I like to think that we're changing the perspective of corrections, where it used to be us versus them, meaning correctional staff versus what used to be inmates or offenders and now is currently residents. But really, it's people that are incarcerated, right? I like to think that the direction that this facility is going, not on every single housing unit, but as a general rule, it's still an us versus them. But it's us as in every human being that is working for the better versus breaking the chain. Us versus them, meaning us versus breaking the chain. Because I think that once people get on board and understand what the true purpose is behind especially the dog program and the honor unit, they start to recognize that it doesn't mean we don't have rules, because we have rules every day in our own communities. People have to be held to a standard. Just because I hold you to a standard and I make you follow the rules doesn't mean I don't love you. In fact, it means I love you even more, because that's what I do with my own children. I don't want them to be assholes. I don't want them to be jerks. So I'm going to hold them to a standard, right? Because I want them to become appropriate pro-social individuals. I don't treat anybody here any differently than I would one of my kids. Probably better than what I would treat one of my kids. Just because I have a different expectation. There's different expectations. I know, right? They're going to be coming after me. The truth is you can still smack your children. Just make sure it's not where anybody can see it. Just kidding. Just kidding. My children would all laugh. Both of my children would laugh if they ever heard that. But I want it to be us versus the criminal mentality. I want it to be us versus that chain. I want every single man in this facility to know that they can break that cycle if they want to. It's truly up to them and how courageous and strong and how willing are they to admit that they were part of that cycle. And honestly, Dave, and even I haven't probably has talked as much to Larry about it. Dave is one of those men that has rushed forward and said, I was part of that cycle. I will do anything I can to break that cycle at this point. And I recognize that I destroyed the communities around me. And I want to do whatever I can, not just to hold them together anymore, but to build them back up. And that is really the purpose behind an honor unit and the dog program. Wouldn't you say, Matt?
Yeah. Absolutely agree with you. I had something I was thinking about just a minute ago, and I lost my train of thought because I'm getting old. But, man, what was I going to say? It was a good one, too.
It was going to be epic, I'm sure.
It was.
It's probably going to be better than mine.
No.
You wouldn't expect anything less from him.
Correct.
No.
Sure, that doesn't add any pressure.
I'm going to breathe heavy in the mic real quick here. No. Well, I was thinking there's so many things. My mind goes 100 miles an hour all the time.
I know you have ADD.
Yeah, 100 miles an hour all the time. But I was thinking about what you were talking about with the us versus them, because there's going to be guys that aren't ready for that. They're not ready for that, and they have that prison mentality, and they're gonna have that for a long, long time. Or some of them longer than others, and there's nothing you can do about that except for provide the opportunity for them to change. And then if they're open to that ideology, then you can watch that transition happen. But so I'd like the warden was saying, kind of the team is the staff members who are on board with that and the population guys who are on board with that. That's one team against the others, or versus not only the other population guys who are not ready for that kind of change or commitment to change, and some staff members realistically that are that hold on to that old train of thought, knuckle draggers, I guess is what we commonly call them, and not ready to treat guys like human beings too. So it's neat to see that we've the badge and the your general population uniform or whatever you want to call it is no longer the line of separation. It's based on the social, how you treat people, and I think that's being.
If you never give them a chance, they can never prove you wrong, whether it's right, good or bad. If you don't give them that chance, and they'll always be what you assumed they'd be.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think there's a time and a place for a max custody facility.
Oh, no doubt.
There are people out there that shouldn't get out, that will victimize for the rest of their life. And I don't think anybody, incarcerated or not, can deny that, especially those of you that have been incarcerated, even for a few days. Evil exists, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
And there are individuals that are so damaged that they will never be able to be part of what we call society again. There is a time and a place for that. But why aren't we looking at research to see where things like the dog program, where we're teaching leadership skills, we're teaching a vocational skill, we're teaching a relational skill.
And responsibility.
It's
huge.
Huge, absolutely. Which goes along with the honor unit as well. When I say the dog program, I really have kind of, in my own mind, combined the two in a lot of ways. While the dog program, you guys definitely have a lot more responsibility because you obviously have dogs that you're caring for and training. But the honor unit itself also is watching you, and you guys are mentoring them. So they're seeing a lot of those behaviors as well. That in itself is taking corrections to an altogether different level. And I'm hoping that it continues to progress that way because people are going to get out. I told this story last week when I went to visit a new group of staff. And I don't know if I've shared this with you guys, maybe a few of you, but I realized, so I'd already started the dog program. And we were talking about starting a program with the minimum custody guys for fishing with their kids. And we hadn't quite got it off the ground yet. And I was at home, and we live fairly rural. There's a few homes around us. And there was this, we had our camper in front of our house, and we were either loading it or unloading it, I can't remember, for a trip. And there was this vehicle that drove into our driveway. And the kids come running in the house. Mom, somebody's here. And I said, okay, well, who is it? We don't know. So I step outside, and the person in the driver's seat rolls their window down and says, well, hi, Warden Carlin, how are you? And I'm very rural. Most people don't come out except for family. And so here's this person in this car. I have no idea who it is, but they knew who I am, right? So my kids slink into the house. And I'm like, hey, I don't remember your name, but I recognize your face. How are you? And it was a guy that had gotten out from Gibbons Hall. And he's just said, hey, I want to thank you. You always treated me fairly. Hey, I'm looking for this house. I'm going to go bid on a job. I'm like, cool. The house is right up there. I'm really happy to hear you're doing well. Keep it up. I go back in the house, and the kids are like, Mom, was that one of the bad guys? And I'm like, crap, that is not the message that I'm wanting to give to my own children. And I have all these programs at work where I'm trying to change the culture and change the vision of my staff. But I'm not doing that at home right now. And so I went in the house, and I was talking to them, and I said, that's not a bad guy. That's a guy that made a poor decision and went to prison and did his time, and now he's out trying to be pro-social. I said, guess what? You all are going to fishing day with me because you're going to spend a day with those guys watching them fish with their kids and see that they are normal people that have made bad decisions. Not to mention, I'm already involved in what they call Royal Family Kids Camp, which is a camp for kids that are high risk, which my youngest child fits the criteria for because he is adopted. And I had to change my culture and my vision at home too. And so that's when things really became a lot more passionate for me as far as the dog program went. And then just realizing that we could expand that and handing that over to Matt to do, because I didn't have the time. But that's really where it came from, is realizing that I had kept telling my staff day in and day out, people get out every day. 90% of the guys that are incarcerated are going to get out and are going to be your neighbor one day. Do you want them to be a good neighbor or a bad neighbor? Well, it hit home when my own children thought, that's a bad guy because he knew me as Warden Carlin. It's not the vision that I had for my house. So that's part of why this became such a passion for me. And hopefully sharing that information with whoever listens to this will allow them to understand why we do what we do. Because I think that Matt is correct. Some of our toughest challenges is staff. They don't understand that it's not just about catching people doing things. Yes, there are rules, and yes, there are guidelines that people have to follow, but it's also about caring about people and being kind in the right way.
I remember when Sergeant Blanford first started the program, he said something that stuck with me. He said that he wants us to be neighbors, not numbers. And when he said that at first, it actually gave me goosebumps, because, and it seems like I say this a lot in almost every podcast, that the system, I've watched it change so much in the time that I've been in it. You know, it's 20 years, and I've seen it transform. And to watch the honors unit kind of come into being, you know, start as an idea or talked about, and then just kind of watch it be put together, and then to have Sergeant Blanford say something like that at the time, it affected me, and it literally gave me goosebumps hearing him say that.
So can somebody explain kind of the differences of the honors unit to, let's say, another unit that's not an honors unit? But what are some of the things that you get on that unit? What are some of the more of the freedoms you have? Those kinds of things.
Yeah, so originally, you know, and I'm sure it's probably gotten more extensive since we began, but originally some of the things that we were looking at was like the living guide. We're taking some of the rules out of the living guide and making them a little more liberal. Example would be like day room times. Day room would close for the rest of the units at 10 o'clock at night. You know, it's lights out, 10 o'clock. Nobody's allowed to be hanging out in the day room. And we kept it open till, I think it was 4 o'clock in the morning or something like that, till we had another count. And to some it didn't matter. Some of the guys on the unit didn't really care about that because they're going to go to bed early anyway. They don't, you know, it doesn't affect them. But to some of the guys who are night owls, they were like, "Wow, that's awesome." And then there was gaming systems. We got gaming systems implemented so that these guys could order a gaming system to have in their living area, and that was really popular. We bought a freezer, a deep freezer we'd put on the units, and we'd purchase out of some funds that we had available to us. We'd purchase a bunch of, you know, like freezer items, and guys would be able to get things out of the freezer, you know, outside of regular commissary or what they were getting in the chow hall, and that was popular.
And we paid for it.
Yeah, that came out of the state's.
Didn't pay for it.
Right, came out of the state's budget or the department's budget.
Toaster ovens.
Yeah, let us eat together.
Yeah, we got toaster ovens.
Huge. Yeah, it was a huge difference for them.
Yeah, and so that's a good example, Larry, because that was one of the things that when we talk about, like what Dave said, neighbor, not a number, more realistic to community style living.
Yeah, break bread.
Yeah, I mean, guys, one of the, you know, spreading is something that's we don't allow it that much throughout the rest of the population or the rest of the facility, right?
Correct.
It has to be approved because of the inherent problems that can come with it. With, you know, in some of the other facilities where guys aren't trying to live and hold people accountable, and they're extorting people and stealing from others and doing it. And so we would just kind of, nobody's allowed to spread.
And spread is what? What is spread?
Throw food together.
Yeah. No, but you can probably explain the spread better,
so
Larry.
spread, hey, everybody brings something to the table, and those who can't throw in, we just invite them, and somebody else covers them. But we cook together, and we all sit down and we eat together, and we spend time, and we just make sure that everybody gets involved, and we get to talk, and it opens up conversations. It makes new guys feel more welcome when they don't have something. Shows them that we care about them too, and it makes them open up to the availability of us holding them accountable in the future, because it creates a relationship, and so that holds the honor unit on the rails.
We call that a potluck
Yeah,
in the
it's a-
community.
Yeah, there you go. Potluck.
In prison, it's called a spread.
Spread.
Yeah.
It's a
But we don't
potluck.
allow it on other units.
No.
Because we've seen where it can create issues and problems because they don't have the right intentions when they have the spread. And that's where this unit is different. You're supposed to have good intentions and not hold it against someone because they didn't bring something to the table.
It kind of reminds me, and I'm going to just jump in for a minute, because it's a great example of what we have had, something that normally in a community setting is appropriate. You are all inclusive in a potluck or in a spread. It doesn't matter if you can contribute or not. You're invited to come break bread with this group of people, right? But in prison, it's been taken advantage of and made dirty in a lot of ways. And so we've outlawed it. We've made it non-pro-social in prison. But you guys are getting ready to go back out into a community, or we're trying to teach you how to live in a community. And so we have to take a different approach to that. So for the layman out there that doesn't understand prison terminology or prison culture, no, people aren't allowed to share. They're not allowed to share in prison because somebody's taken advantage of that. That's not a lesson we want to teach our kids, though, right? Correct. And so unfortunately, we look at it from our perspective. Worst case scenario, somebody's being taken advantage of. Luckily, one of the visions of the honor unit was to take those normal taboo things and make them a community event. And so that's kind of the vision that Matt had. And so those are the types of things that we now consider appropriate for the honor unit only at this point.
Makes a big difference too.
Yep.
Yeah, because I would get pushback from like staff members, and I'd come back from a weekend or something, and I'd have, hey, these guys are spread, and they said that you could let them do that. Is that right? And I would just, hey, look, man, nobody. Does anybody care if you and your buddies get together on the weekend and have a barbecue? Nobody's sweating you out because you're trying to barbecue or have a potluck. So no, I do think it's appropriate for them to spread and have those same. We're trying to create an environment that's like what a free individual or free person and living as an American would be able to have. And so, yeah, you're confined to here for a little while or until you're done. But we want to provide that environment here so that when you get out, it's not so much of a shock to the conscience. Because I mean, how many times have we talked about when they first started talking about prison reform in general, how guys are getting out of administrative segregation or SHU units for years, and then going out in the community. There's no way they're going to be
Yeah, they're not ready for it.
socially okay with a freedom style of living. And so that's when we really started looking at that whole as a nation. I think the whole culture of prison and having guys in long-term restrictive housing and how effective it is in paroling them out of there or topping their time out of segregation is just detrimental. So providing that free environment kind of as much as we can without, and maintaining some boundaries at the same time.
A huge testament to that, though, would be the Christmas spread that's going to go down. I think we're going to have almost 300 burritos. Yeah, it took me 3 hours to coordinate what all is being rolled and how it's going to be made and get it down to the kitchen. And kitchen's stepping up. So I mean, that's a huge testament to how the honors unit's working out and everybody coming together, because many people are coming together, and we're going to be able to share with those that couldn't come together. and it's gonna be a great Christmas. Something you'd never expect to have in incarceration. Basically, most would stomp it out and keep you repressed, and that just creates more anger inside, and it creates a bigger divide between us and them. That thinking, this allows some of that to kind of fall away, and that's huge. Gets rid of that criminal thinking where everything's a manipulation. We have to sneak around to slide someone a ramen because they're hungry, and we want to help them, but it's a bad thing. Now all of a sudden, it's not all evil. Like, hey, just come out to the table, we'll all make burritos. Like, not a big thing. So that's awesome. That's cool.
What does it take to get on the honors unit or be part of the PAWS program?
So I'm not certain what it is now or if it's changed, but we used to have, you had to be pretty, disciplinary free for a period of time. I think it was a year long.
Ideally, we want a year long. For the PAWS program, it's 6 months, and so we'll make that exception. But ideally, we wanted it to be a year long. The unfortunate part is because of sending residents out of state and losing a lot of our population, we get whatever is sent to us, and then we're scrambling to figure out who to put on there and are they appropriate. So we've had to be lenient a little bit on that, but we still try to stay with that 6 month mark for that. DOR free. Can't be in trouble, have to be appropriate on the housing unit you're on, not arguing with the staff, not getting caught in lots of rule violations, those little things. And so we're checking, your file, see if you're appropriate. And then the PAWS program, they have a selection process that they go through where they review their application, their background. And that's typically through the warden that is reviewing those.
You also have to be positively programming.
Right. You have to be involved in something.
School, a job. Those are things you have to keep
You're not
up.
laying around all day.
Right. So it's a lot like out in regular society. You got to have a job. You got to go to sleep at a certain time. So I can see where on the unit, the day room's open all night long. But are you going to be able to stay up all night? No, most people go to bed, so they have to work the next day or have to handle the dogs or whatever the case may be. So I think it helps people get used to that as real life. So that's kind of the neat thing I see.
You're an active member of that housing unit, whether you're
Correct.
cleaning,
There you go.
working, volunteering, doing education. You should be involved in something. And so when we first started it, Lieutenant Craig was the admin lieutenant at the time, and Sergeant Blanford, they would walk the housing unit, and if they found anybody in bed past a certain time, they were like, nope, this is the conversation we're going to have. You're either up doing something and being productive, or you're not on this unit. It's that simple. So a lot of residents that ask to go to that unit, I think they don't understand what they're really getting into, and so they have the wrong reasons for being over there. So those ones weed themselves out very quickly. We've been able, it's a great opportunity for someone, but if you don't have the right intentions, that's all going to come to the surface, whether it's within a month to 6 months to a year. We've all seen it. Some people are better at hiding their game.
Well, they can fake that with you guys, but then once they come live with us, they come to realize that we're going to hold them accountable also. And so the tough guy image, the gangster image, anything, the criminal image, all that's time to be laid aside. It's time for us to make some real change in our life if we want to go anywhere. And we appreciate what we have on that unit. And all of a sudden, it pays more to do good than it does to do bad. So it doesn't pay to try to hustle. It doesn't pay to try to lie and get one over. It doesn't pay to be that way anymore. Other prisons, it does. Other units, it does. It pays better to be on the sly. It pays better now to be on the up and up, and it grows us into something we never understood. And that's how it is in society. We're starting to realize, that out there on the up and up, we can go further. Even if we're scared of the change, even if we're scared we're going to fail, like, we still go further than what we would the other way. So that's huge.
It's a chore to live that way for an extended period of time. It's just an absolute chore. And so like you said, when you realize that you start doing things on the up and up and you have an honest living and you're being honest about stuff, life is so much smoother because you're not always constantly worrying about this and that, or it's just an absolute chore to live in that lifestyle all the time.
Welcome to Charlie 2 Pause Program and Honors Unit. Off to the left, you'll see the Pause alumni over here. These guys have all completed the Pause program and have successfully stayed out of incarceration. When we come back over here, as you see some of the guys behind me over here, these are all part of the Pause program. Got a couple guys up here in my leadership spot. The rest of them, they're hard workers. Everybody's a hard worker up on this unit when it comes to this program. Over here, you have the Pause information board. So on this board right here, this helps whether it's staff members or it's residents, Pause, no matter what, people can read this and understand what's going on in the Pause program on a day-to-day basis. When we come back up in here, this is the motto for the Pause program, and honestly is the honors unit, dogs first. So we make sure that dogs are first over everything else on this unit. They're always the number one priority. That just teaches people when they come out back to society that the biggest thing is it's not about your needs, it's about somebody else's needs, especially not to be greedy. When we come this way a little bit here, we come out to the day room. Day room on an honors unit, you have to be extremely well behaved, you have to be disciplinary free, you have to have your high school diploma or trying to get your GED, have a GED. We really push that people keep pushing their education. Also, it's all about reform on this unit to get people prepared to come out and be able to get back out in society and better themselves, to be a good neighbor. We want everybody to be a good neighbor so that way they can succeed. Some of the things that during this program that other people get, or I'm sorry, that don't get, that the Pause program does get and the honors unit gets, is some of these tables in here. They made a proposal last year to get some tables together so that way it feels more of like a family environment, more of a community environment. So the tables were custom made. Some other things that they get being on an honors unit is like the toaster ovens, they get air fryers, they get couches, DVDs that their families get to send. Of course, I have to prove them. I go through monthly to prove these DVDs that get sent to make sure they're appropriate for them to watch, and especially around staff so people don't get offended by them. They also get a fish tank that they get to see, which is pretty cool, which is unusual, especially being in a prison environment. So just wanted to thank you and welcome to the honors unit, and have a great day.
I'm going to jump up on a real quick soapbox because I'm going to give a shout out to my leadership in Boise. I heard some really good news. I don't know all the specifics about it, but I'm really excited that our agency is hopefully in the next couple of years going to start focusing on some trauma treatment in the front end of people's incarcerations. I know, isn't that amazing, Dave? It gives me chills to think that we may be addressing trauma treatment in the beginning of somebody's incarceration. And trauma is not an excuse to treat people like crap. Don't get me wrong. Trauma is no reason to commit crimes and to make victims out of people, and to not care about how your behavior impacts the world around you.
An explanation.
But it is an explanation.
Yeah.
And if we can start treating that, much like if we could do some additional substance abuse treatment before people become incarcerated, I think that we would have a lot more success. But I love the direction that our current leadership is going as far as knowing that that is a priority.
Yeah.
So I don't know a lot about it, but I wanted to give a shout out to them. And I know that most people that want to change, that want to address those issues in their life, are going to be ecstatic when they hear that.
And I had all the right people there saying the right things. But like my mom, she left when we were kids, and that abandonment, like I used to just cry myself to sleep all the time. In the middle of the night, I just lay there for hours and hours and hours. I was scared to get out of my bed when I was a little kid. I don't know why. I just wouldn't get out of the bed. And that abandonment followed me through my life, like made me codependent. My codependence made me emotionally unstable, and that instability turned me to drugs and alcohol so that I could bury it, so I could feel strong enough, so I could be tough, and just kind of numb everything out. And then that let me be basically mean to people where I'm not really that person, but it allowed me that side, and it followed me all through my life. And the one thing I never wanted to be was, I didn't want to be like my mom, who was a total failure and a drug addict on the streets, but I didn't want to be like my dad, who thought that all the material possessions that he gave me meant love. I wanted my kids to know that I loved them, and yet I did exactly the same thing both of them did. If I wasn't in drugs, then I was striving to be like my dad and impress him and work and do all these things, but I found misery in it. And as soon as something went wrong, I was like, I knew it. I failed. I can't do it. And I went back to the other way, because once your life starts falling apart, you want to feel like you're in control. So you start to tear it apart. And that way you can tell yourself, I did this. I decided to quit because it wasn't going to work. And it's just so devastating to look back and wonder how, now that my kids don't talk to me, how they must feel. If they've gone through this, have they felt the same things? And so it's hard to believe that that's what we've done with our lives, or that happens. And if I could ever explain to anybody, like your money doesn't always say love. Everybody has a different love language. We have to figure out how to speak to each other, how to speak to our kids, how to get across to them, because I felt unloved. I know I had a home. I knew I had somewhere to lay my head, but I didn't appreciate it because I didn't see that as love. I wanted somebody to come in and hold me. I wanted somebody to take me fishing. I wanted somebody to do something with me, And so it was crazy.
Do you think that you've been able to process this safely in the dog program?
Absolutely.
You have found people?
That's where it's changed everything. Yeah, because, now with the dogs, I actually have learned to put somebody before myself. Mm-hmm. I was always, because I didn't feel loved, I didn't feel safe. And so therefore it was always survival. I wasn't trying to hurt people. I wasn't ever trying to take advantage of people. I was just trying to survive. I wanted to feel safe, and I never felt safe, ever. So I would victimize everybody.
Well, safe for you was being in control.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so now it's a different thing. I see that I am safe. I'm okay. I've learned to love myself and see value in myself. And I've learned through the dog program that I'm capable of helping others. The dogs, I'm learning to open up, and I'm learning to let go, to love and to let go, because, that was always my fear. If I love something, I can't let go, because then I might never be loved again. And so, sorry. But yeah, so it's been a big process. And I've been working with the dogs for 3 years now. I've trained 15 dogs, and it's probably only been about the last 4 or 5 that I've really started to bond to, because I still would keep a wall up, even with the dogs, because I knew they had to leave me. I knew they had to go. And so now I can show that. I can lead others in that. I know how to put the things that I want to do aside, whether it's anything from going to the bathroom, eating, sleeping, talking to somebody on the phone. I mean, that's a huge thing from here is family and talking on the phone. But it's got to wait. I have a dog that depends on me night and day, no matter what. If they're sick in the middle of the night, then I need to be up taking care of them, and I need to be teaching my secondary how to feel and do those same things. And then being part of the leadership of the dog program, we're responsible for 32 guys, and teaching each of them to communicate and to open up and to treat each other right, and to put the dogs first, each other first, and put ourselves last. And that's hard for us. It's really hard, because we've spent our whole life trying to figure out how to make ourselves feel whole, and it's hard.
Right. Larry, I love your passion, and I'm getting to know you better. And every time I have a chance to talk to you, I just appreciate what you are finding within yourself and the man that you're becoming. Dave, I know you've taken kind of a little bit different approach, probably more along the honor unit direction. So I know that you guys are probably getting tired of us talking, and I don't know how long we're planning on going with this, but I want to let you share how you've been able to pay it forward, I guess. I know you were in the dog program for a short amount of time, and well, it really wasn't that short, but you're not in it anymore, but you're still contributing to your community because you're on the honor unit. And I don't want to discount that. I don't ever want that to look less than if you were in the dog program. You are so active in the education department right now and being able to talk to outside people that I really want. I'd like this to be an opportunity for you to kind of put that out there, and maybe a little, shout out to the educators and the people that are allowing you to do that, and share with us what you're doing, because I know that it means everything to you.
Right. Yeah, it does. It's amazing to be able to feel like I'm making a difference in the world. I spent so much of my life taking away, and part of being able to move forward in my life is finding a way to give back. And I'm writing a book right now, working with a publisher, and it's a book of my essays about my life and about changing and what I've done and where I've been. That's huge for me. That'll come out next year. I speak a lot to criminology classes in the U of I. I was a part of a Black Lives Matter virtual symposium where I was the only white speaker. I spoke about my life and my journey and my change because I gave up hate and racism in my life.
That's awesome.
And that got a lot of really good positive feedback on that. I really appreciate the help that the wardens here and the school, Warden Shriver, has done to give me the opportunity to be able to reach outside these fences and be able to make a difference.
I think OMI is another huge part of that.
Oh, huge.
So just real quickly, OMI is a professor that Kent actually, we brought in when we started the Inside Out program, and she's been instrumental. She's got her own amazing story. I'm not going to go into it, but, a shout out to her as well. She's been instrumental in ensuring that we can continue Inside Out despite COVID, and despite the fact that there never seems to be an end in sight with that, and still giving people that opportunity to pay it forward. You, in my opinion, and something I feel like I need to clarify for those that are listening, you don't have to be part of the dog program to become successful and to become self-reflecting. You can do it kind of the way that Dave is doing it as well, and I think that is the message that we really want to get out there with this, and that it comes in different ways for each and every man. And so we've kind of focused a little bit on you guys, but I think that the other focus is when we talked to Sergeant Blanford about, what his vision was and what he brought forward. Both of the deputy wardens have the same vision. They may not have had it at the same time as their warden did, but they got there. A funny story.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about that funny story.
Yeah, I'd never sat down and drink a cup of coffee with one of the residents.
Right.
And here I am.
Yeah.
Right.
So you would have started almost 6 years ago, or was it 6 years ago? 5.5?
It's 5.5 years.
5.5 years ago. So I would say it was about 5 years ago, because you had been here about 6 months. We were all doing a tour. We were back on A block. I plopped my butt down in the middle of the day room and was talking to to inmates at the time. Some of the guys in the day room, drinking a cup of coffee. And when I left that unit, I got my butt chewed. That's not right. You shouldn't do that. I would never, ever, ever sit down and have a cup of coffee.
Wasn't that dramatic? Come on now.
I'm pretty sure that it was. Yeah, and look at us now. Sitting around a table having this very passionate conversation about change.
And it's a huge part of the change in direction we've gone as a facility, because I've been here for 26 years. I was on the CERT team. I was a firearms instructor, security. You took care of stuff, right? And there is that little difference. Now, this facility has always been a little more progressive, where we've worked with the the residents. We've done programming with the residents. Security staff has done that, but it was really that security hardline for a long time. I got my knife hand going already.
But that was the direction of the leadership at the time.
It was.
So us growing up in corrections that we have for 29 and 26 years, we were told to do something, we did it.
Right.
And we were told to go that direction, we did it. And so it didn't really change until Tarima, but it was a little bit of a progression. She had to come in and establish herself, and we had to figure out what she wanted from us all. And so once we understood that vision, we were like, okay, we can do that. You just had to tell us, is this where we're headed? Because no one ever talked about that. It was not the norm.
Right. But I have a vision that says that we have a clear need for tactical members as well. I mean, so you've got an individual in this room that is still a tactical member, team member, but he's also a guy that understands the need to make changes that are progressive. But he can flip that switch if he needs to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I would get, when we started doing the coffee on, I can't remember what day it was, when I'd come up. Saturday mornings, I was working Saturday mornings, and I'd come up in the morning. You guys would just brew your fresh coffee, and I'd bring a cup up. And sometimes, and I got to tell you, to be honest, the first time I ever did it, I felt a little bit uncomfortable, but somebody had said, hey, Blanford, you need some more coffee? And I was like, sure. And I handed him the cup, and he took it over to the thing, filled it up, brought it back to me. And I was thinking, well, I might get in trouble for that one, but oh well. I'll speak my piece if it comes to it. But just accepting something from that was always taboo, right? So I was a little nervous about that. But I had to. People would ask me all the time, staff members. I can't believe I'm sitting with coffee, drinking coffee with these guys. That's crazy. You get your back to them, you're sitting down, you get your back to them. And I said, look, I know how to operate in that environment versus you're not going to catch me on A block doing that same thing. I'm not going to sit down and have my back to everybody. Right? I just had the ability to know where I'm at and how I should be acting based on the environment that I'm in. And so, as far as being on the TAC team thing, there's guys that are just, like we talked about earlier, they're just never going to be what we're after with the honors program, right? They're just always going to be rough people, and they're always going to want to play that game.
Yeah.
And so for those guys, I can turn the switch. I'm ready for that, and then we can, operate or do business that way. But outside of that, I'd prefer being on the honors unit and drinking coffee 10 out of 10 versus
kind of makes me smile.
Doing cell extraction,
Think about it. I mean, if you really think about it, I mean, each of us, everybody has to learn that. Us coming from our past, we're learning that, hey, that person is still there, but we don't have to acknowledge him. We don't have to use him. But I guarantee that, like, if it went down and you guys were in trouble, there's more of us that would flip that switch than what. I mean, you guys' TAC team wouldn't get there that quick.
I don't doubt that one bit, honestly.
They've got more backup there than what they know.
So it does depend on what housing unit you're on, what facility you're at even. I mean, that's not necessarily something you do at max. That's a whole different type of person you're dealing with. So
you're lucky if they'll come out of the cell to even sit with you, because that's not the norm.
Right. Exactly.
It really is knowing your environment, knowing your audience, knowing, what is going on around you. You have to be observant no matter where you are at in life. And it's about knowing the individuals and their desires to change and to become better people. I don't expect that from everybody. And so the world may see this progressiveness as it's a blanketed statement. That's not the case. We're providing this opportunity for people that want to change. We all know that not everybody wants to change.
It was interesting to me to realize that because the dog gives a commonality, a point where we can understand each other. You guys like the dog, we like the dog. It's something to talk about.
Right.
But from there, watching us with the dogs, watching us roll on the floor, it's hard to be a tough guy when you're talking like a baby to a dog. Hey, let's go, little guy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to keep that image. And when you see us rolling on the floor, loving on a dog, it takes away that image. It allows you to reboot and kind of see things different. That's cool.
And then take it one step further with you have staff that have adopted dogs, and
Absolutely.
then or we've opened it up so that they can bring their dog in for some training, and they have to take lessons from you.
And we're working with your family members at that point. You know,
Yes.
when they bring their dogs in,
important.
it's a family member. Yeah.
Well, and I think to add to that, when the staff members bring their dog in and they have you guys train their dogs and they recognize the value that you guys have, sometimes I think that as a, I just had this conversation recently with a member of my leadership about how sometimes as a person, you just want people to recognize your value. And that helps really make a pretty strong bond between the two of you. And so when staff are able to recognize the value that you guys bring to the table, it breaks down those
I
barriers.
do have to say, though, that Matt's passion in change has influenced other people that either worked for him, worked with him, or even individuals that supervised him, influenced them to see the benefit. And so I couldn't make that change because from the warden, it's me telling them that they have to change. They watched him progressively make this culture shift on that unit. And they watched him go in and have those conversations. And he dragged his lieutenant in for a long time. And
Not Lieutenant Craig.
oh no, I'm not talking about Lieutenant Craig.
No, because he was on board.
He was on board.
Yeah.
No, it was his shift lieutenant that he had to drag on
Yeah.
to the housing unit.
Yeah, I mean, those are conversations we had in an attempt to prepare him. Everything we do is to prepare the lieutenants and sergeants to step into our role. And so to have that conversation, like, you really have got to figure out your boundaries, but have conversations with the residents and then
What was that you said just the other day? Don't talk about it,
be about it.
be about it. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's one of the things that lieutenant did, which was really difficult, was
So
to
you
go
can-
with Matt.
You can influence people at every level when you are consistent and your vision is genuine and you have intent behind it. You are intentional in what you do every day. And you guys do the same thing every day in your community.
I think it's a huge thing to learn when you want somebody to do something, not to, because like in our old life, we used a certain type of force, and they might comply, but they didn't want to do it. They're waiting for their time to overthrow us or retaliate against us. It's always a thing, and that applies in real life. People do things they don't really want to do, and I find it a very strengthening thing to find ways to inspire others to want to ascertain the goal that we have in mind through making it their own dream and inspiring them, finding what motivates them and helping them apply it to the goal we're trying to achieve. And that's been eye-opening for me too, because it means walking more and talking less, and that way the things you do say hold water. They mean something. I realized at one point in my life that like you could go anywhere in the prison system and people would be like, Larry, that's a good good guy. That's a good, yeah, right. That's a good guy right there. Like everybody was good with me everywhere you go. And yet you go talk to my family and they don't believe that guy. Don't listen to him. You know, like, oh, that's no good right there. And I realized that I spent all my life holding to the laws, the bylaws, the values, the morals of the wrong code. And so all the people of the wrong side believed in me. But all the people everywhere else, I'd put no effort into that. I had no water there. I had no value there. And that was a big change in me, in my motivation.
So I've got a question. So what, as far as the honor unit and the dog program goes, what have you guys seen as far as changes within the population? Has it made an impact on things like disciplinaries, recidivism? What's the nuts and bolts on this program here?
I don't have any numbers. Unfortunately, Lieutenant Johnson, when he left, he didn't. He said that he had been tracking dog program guys, but just off the top of my head, I would have to say that as far as dog program, I think that our recidivism rate is pretty low. We obviously do. And anytime you're dealing with human beings, you're going to have hiccups and bumps and people make mistakes. That's just the way it goes. Everybody does. As far as honor unit, I honestly don't have really any indication right now on what that looks like. In my opinion, aside from recidivism, I think it's a success because you see less violence.
Yes.
You see people taking care of each other. And even when people get booted off the unit for just not following the rules, they still take a piece of that community with them, no matter where they go. And they know what they're missing when they leave. So while the recidivism rates may not be being tracked, the human cognitive piece of that is a success for me. Because when they get removed from C2 and the dog program, they want to come back. They miss that piece of it. Even when people get out and they get out on supervision, it's that community that they miss.
Right. Well, I've noticed that there's a lot less disciplinary actions on this unit than any other unit I've been on.
Absolutely.
We started in 2019. Is that about
Yeah,
right?
so it's still fairly new. I mean, only a couple years running.
Right. And, C2 wasn't a unit that had a lot of disciplinary anyway, but we don't hardly have any DORs. I mean, you get removed almost immediately if you have that. I think we had one scuffle in the 4 or 5 years that we've been doing this, but it was really minimal. And we wouldn't have known about it had not other residents had come forward for that and told us. But we don't have the violence on the unit. We get requests from all over the state. It's obviously made news at other facilities because we get requests just to come only to that unit. We're one of the facilities that has protective custody. We have requests all the time. I want to check out only to C2. And we're like, yeah, that's not how it works. And you're not behaving now. So people don't understand what that expectation is to go to that unit. I mean, we can just tell right away that that's not going to work. And we have moved some guys that we felt like her and,
Or Fountain.
yeah, we knew that they would fit in perfectly and it would be a good environment for them. But yeah, it has reduced that. And then it's also given other residents throughout the facility something to look at and to obtain maybe
A
one
goal.
day.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was one of the goals for us is that we had 4 housing units and what was the difference between them all? And we always wanted people to want to live on McKelway, but also to not be in trouble. And so what was the incentive behind that? And so we were always trying to figure out how do we do that? How do we make it a housing unit attractive and you want to be there? And so that's where those ideas started to come from. We would talk about it a lot. Like, let's do something different. Let's do something different. And nothing would come of it. And so once we got the idea rolling, the right people were in the right place at the time. And that was Lieutenant Craig and Sergeant Blanford. Once we pitched the idea to them, they just ran with it. And that was a great feeling because nothing's worse than talking about an idea and not seeing it move, like go anywhere. That drives me nuts. We want movement. So now we have all these other housing units that are looking at that and saying, I want to be part of that.
Well, I want to thank Larry and Sergeant Blanford for being our guests today. We appreciate your time and your stories and
Yeah, anytime.
you had to say.
I'd love to come in here and wrap it up with you guys.
You just got to remember what you're going to say.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm going to start taking some meds or something for my memory. See if that helps.
As long as it's for your memory.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate
Thank you,
it, too.
Dave.
It's been a good time.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
Good luck
I
with
just want to
that.
be long, is all.
Yeah.
She's controlling the podcast again.